Hello everyone and welcome to another video. Now back when I started school in 1999, good work was rewarded with a lesson in the computer room. Now I actually hated this because I think I must have been the only kid who hadn't used a PC before. Now we only had access to these PCs for MS Paint, you know, to create one of these masterpieces. But before I could even get that far, I had to type my username and password that the school had given me. A pretty difficult task for a 5-year-old who had no idea what a computer even was and had no clue as to why the letters on the keyboard weren't in order. I'm not kidding, the lesson was over by the time I had logged on. This was probably frustrating for my partner, who was supposed to have a turn too, but instead thought watching me try and type was a lot more entertaining. 5-year-olds are mean. The reason I bring this up is because these computers featured Windows 98, and I can only imagine the amount of people all over the world whose first PC experience had Windows 98 at the heart of it. So today we're going to be revisiting the almost 2-decade-old operating system, exploring its look, features, limitations, and even playing a few old school games. Released in June of '98, this OS featured Internet Explorer 4, as well as many other applications like Outlook Express, Address Book, Microsoft Chat, and NetShow Player. A few other additions include the Quick Launch toolbar, back and forward navigation buttons, and a pretty nifty ability to change dialog box borders to 2-colour gradients. It's nice to see though that this style of desktop was with us for so long, as going back to it like this means it's easy and familiar. Things we take for granted now were also new with 98, like the support for USB peripherals, keyboards, mice and joysticks for example. So let's talk about limitations. For today's video, we're actually using an old system comprising of a Sempron 2400 Plus, 512MB of RAM and a 60GB hard drive. Not only does this make the whole experience more authentic, but it was sort of necessary given that 98 only supports one core without hyper-threading and was known to crash on any more than half a gig of RAM. I've read about certain workarounds and hacks, but for the purpose of this video, and when you consider that actually using this OS daily isn't really feasible, we decided to keep everything original. So let's get into the gaming side of things, and let me tell you, this was quite a pain to set up. We decided to go for the Radeon 9500 Pro 128MB AGP GPU, and eventually found the Catalyst 6.2 drivers for it. This card features support for DX9, the latest version that 98 also supports. Back in the early 2000s, this would have made a pretty decent gaming PC, so let's take a look at a few old school titles. First up, we've got the original Splinter Cell at 1024 by 768 resolution, running with high settings and anti-aliasing off, to achieve 30 FPS on average. Bumping the resolution up any more saw a significant drop in frames, and lowering it saw a big drop in quality, so this seemed like the sweet spot. Next up, it's Half-Life 2 with the same resolution and high settings and any forms of AA off once again to achieve a very nice 53 frames per second. Again, it's a similar story as with Splinter Cell, whereby an increase of resolution hits the performance quite hard and lowering it takes a heavy toll on quality. With these settings, the game looks and feels pretty good. The original Max Payne we can actually crank up to 1280 by 1024 for a buttery smooth 70 frames per second. I love this game, it runs and looks good throughout. Now some of you may be wondering why the focus on games in a video looking back at an operating system. Surely that makes it about the hardware. Well, to be honest, I think the two go hand in hand. The games don't just show the limitations of the hardware, but also signify the very limitations that this now unsupported operating system presents. That doesn't have to be a bad thing though, because when we take a trip back to the past like this, we're reminded not only of the overall user experience, which can generate nostalgia, but we're also reminded of the awesome experiences that we had with older software. Except me, of course. I'll never forget the time I spent trying to type my name into my school PC for at least 25 minutes. So guys, thank you so much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this little look back at Windows 98, and this brought on a ton of nostalgia for me, and I hope it did for some of you guys as well. So again, thank you for watching. Hit that like button if you enjoyed the video, click dislike if you didn't enjoy the video so much. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already, and hopefully I'll see all of you in the next one.